this works this time. There's nothing more irritating as a black person than for you to put all your support behind a person. You meet someone, or you see them from a distance, and you like what they're doing. You admire their spirit, their determination. You like their artistic voice, and even if you don't agree with everything, you say, you know what? I like what that guy or that lady has to say. And then you find out the person's a racist. Nothing can be more irritating as an African American. But you know what? I suspect everybody feels that way if they like someone and then they find out that person is racist against their particular group. Now, you may be wondering, what in the world does this have to do with the martial arts, Cecil? This is just clickbait. Or you may say, oh my goodness, Cecil's another liberal snowflake who is just going to go after the white male. Well, I'm here to tell you that yes, while I have been called a snowflake, and on some things I'm liberal, I'm actually not going after the white male. Because this has nothing to do with the white male, per se. The white male is actually one of the people that are being hated. And I'm not going to say who this is, but this person is a very racist martial artist. And the reason why I say he is racist, and it is a he, is because he thinks that only people, somebody already guessed it. He thinks, yes, 1 2 5 6 8 4 6 8. You know who it is. You just said who it was. I didn't have to. I'm not going to call out his name because I don't want to ruin his livelihood. Because it seems like what he's got going, he needs that really bad. So I cannot insult, I cannot directly attack his business, but I can still attack the principle that I feel is wrong. He thinks that the only people who should be able to teach his style are people who are of the race of the people that originate the style. So, for example, if the person I'm talking about is a Japanese martial arts master, he would believe that only Japanese people can be masters of Japanese martial arts. And that's racist. If the person were a practitioner of Chinese martial arts, then he would believe that only Chinese people could be practitioners of Chinese martial arts, could be masters. And even if someone who is not Chinese or Japanese or Korean or Indian or African American or white, if someone is not of the race that is the originator of the art, then they must have the guidance of someone who's from the arts, who is of the same race as the founder. They have to be under that person in some kind of way in order to be considered legitimate. That's got to be the most racist thing I've ever heard. Actually, it's not, but I'm just going to say that it is. But it's pretty racist. That's pretty racist. Students of that person who are not of his race, don't you realize that he is never going to think that you are good enough to pass on what he knows? Once you get to the point where you need to fly without a net in order to grow, he is not going to let you do that. He's never going to truly see you as legitimate because you're not the same race that he is. He's even flat out said it. Now, a lot of people don't care, probably, because I think a lot of people think the person I'm talking about. Oh, yes, he said you need permission. Don't get me started on that. I'll circle back to that in a minute. He says that you have to be, basically, didn't Bob Marley say to emancipate yourself from mental slavery? That's a form of mental slavery. To think that only someone who is of the race of the founder of a martial art could ever master it. That is mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. So I guess when there was a white guy one time who offered to teach me shackled hands, and I said no, not because he was white, but because I didn't want to learn shackled hands at the time. And I honestly felt like I want to finish learning how to fight with my hands untied before I learn how to fight with my hands tied. And I told him that to his face. And then he tried to get racial and say, well, don't you think you should learn the style of your ancestors? And I said back, I think my ancestors would want me to fight as a freed person. But I will get back to learning shackled hands when I have time. It was not on my to-do list at the time. But I put it on my to-do list, and I'm probably going to get to it. I actually experimented today with my hands tied up fighting. Now, speaking of which, by that train of logic, and some people have said this in like metaphysical and African circles, right? So, if you want to go by martial racist logic, rather than go take classes and truly learn how to be proficient in the shackle hand style, I should be able to stop, close my eyes, and tune into the spirits of my ancestors. And my ancestors should be able to tell me from the spirit world how to use the shackle hand style. Yeah, let me walk into a group of you and your friends who paid $50 a head, and I tell you that I got all my learning in this system from closing my eyes and listening to my ancestors, and watch how fast you tell me you want your money back. Now, I do acknowledge the phenomenon of genetic memory. I do believe in genetic memory. But from what I've seen teaching people, any type of racial advantage that could come from a particular activity, it's only about that much. There's no substitute for hard work and study. I don't care what it is. And now the same racist martial artist that inspired this video, the same racist martial artist has the nerve to want to use what is considered black expressions. In terms of he does battle raps. And he's battle rapping people that aren't even that good at battle rapping. And I hope he don't ever try to battle rap me. You don't know on this channel. Don't try to battle rap me. I don't even consider myself a very good battle rapper. But if we use the rules of engagement that he is setting forth by reading off a sheet, I know I'll destroy him. And I can even destroy him in different time signatures. That's why I don't do battle raps against. I'm not going to battle rap another martial artist unless they're actually an MC. Because that's two different skill sets. What I would do is some martial artists want to do some raps for fun and for entertainment, I would do that. And I have done that. But I'm not going to battle. I don't believe in battle rapping anyway. But I know I would destroy that guy. And it's not because he's not black. It's because he's not that good. So, you want to appropriate another culture, right? And then you're going to turn around and get mad because somebody that is not of your race is claiming to be a master of a martial art that comes from somebody that's in your race. And even if you feel some type of way about that, then you're going to go on YouTube and tell the whole world that you feel some type of way about that. What that does is make you look like a racist. And what really makes this person look like a racist is that he is challenging some of the people who are not of his race but claim mastership in his art. Now let's go back to a point that someone made who was watching this live stream that said, he said you need permission. Do you know a lot of the styles that have been created were technically created without permission? Some have been and some were not. The person who created that art came to a point where they saw that there was a need for something different, and they went ahead and did it. They went ahead, because of their life experiences and their expertise, they carved out a new way, okay? They carved out a new way. Now, they didn't just come out of thin air with it. They studied the existing ways for a while, and they got very proficient or proficient enough in the existing ways. And then they came up with a new way that they felt like suited what was before them. And they typically, with the exception of Bruce Lee, they typically did not disparage the other ways or say that the other ways were necessarily bad. They said that they have a reason for making their new way. Now, I use myself as an example. I don't think that Taekwondo is bad. In fact, the more I actually learn about martial arts, the more I really like Taekwondo. And it doesn't mean I think other arts are bad. But it really helps me learn and stepping away helps me look at that look at that thing from a different picture, a bigger picture. And I think that's cool. But I've wanted to change the way that I am passing on Taekwondo because when I look at what General Choi created, he created a military art. That is what he actually needed to do. And if I taught military, I would straight up teach it just like General Choi said. But the problem is, a lot of people learning Taekwondo now are civilians. So they are going to jail. Even if they're defending themselves, they stand a chance of going to jail if they're delivering death blows. And I'm not talking about Denmark or Kyusho Jitsu. Taekwondo, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily use Denmark or Kyusho Jitsu. Well, some of the stuff is Denmark. Some of the stuff can bleed over to Kyusho Jitsu because the points on the same or at the same spot. But to me, Taekwondo is using vital points or like structural weak points on the human anatomy that are weak, that if you strike them with enough force, they're going to damage the person. They're going to incapacitate or worse the person. And if a civilian does that to another civilian, even if it's in self-defense, you may stand a good chance of going to jail. And plus, as a civilian, every physical conflict that you get in may not necessarily need to result in death or even require for you to hit someone. Sometimes you might have to just grab somebody and hold them down for a while until they calm down. So let me give you an example. If you wanted to modify just a straight up Taekwondo response for what we think is Taekwondo. If someone attacked me, right? I just go right here. I hit the Adam's apple. They can't breathe. They might pass out. They might end up having to go to an ambulance. Now, if I want to modify that down a bit and pull the punch, I can either do that and stop to intimidate them. I can either lower it down on the body and use it to knock the wind out of them. Now, but see, they could have underlying breathing issues that I don't know about. I can come at them with a few hits real fast and pull them. I actually did that one time when I was a kid. That actually worked on someone. But see, hitting is not always the way to go. If you know some judo, and all you would need at most would be like a Shodan level understanding of judo for Cecil Ryu Taekwondo. I don't require people to get more than a Shodan in judo. Even if they get a 10th degree from me, I haven't even attained 10th degree in my own system. You don't have to get more than a Shodan in judo, but I have a Shodan in judo though. If you could come in for the block, and then instead of going for the hit, or do a slight tap for the hit, and then you take them down and you pin them and you hold them down till they stop, that might be all you need to do. Now, some of the problems with judo is those throws are made for contest. So we're talking like an ippon throw where both feet come off the ground and you hit them with force. You don't want to necessarily hit them with force. You can do the throw, but then pull it. So for Cecil Ryu Taekwondo, it's about percussive force and grappling force. And I'm definitely stressing continuation from scale. So I don't want you to just go from here. This is 0, this is 100. I don't want you to necessarily go from here to here as a civilian. I want you to be able to go, I need to go here, I need to go there, I need to go there, I need to go here. Sometimes you may have to go from here to here as a civilian. I want you to be able to do that too. But you got to remember, you're a civilian. Your job is not necessarily to destroy the enemy. Your job is to diffuse the situation. Stop the conflict. And I think Aikido can help me with that, especially with the philosophy of Weishaba. Because he always, everything I've read of him, he's talked about harmonizing and redirecting the energy. So I'm thinking Aikido can really help me do that. Who knows? Will I might import Aikido techniques directly and put them in the one-step portion. Who knows? Maybe I can come up with something else in my subconscious. It may just change the way I do my blocks. So instead of the hard block, I'll actually sticky hands it, like in Shingi Bagua or maybe Tai Chi. I might sticky hands it and come around, because I did see somebody do that back in the day and use that to harmonize instead of just coming like that and taking them out. But make no mistake, also with Cecil Taekwondo, that's there. That's always an option. Now I tell my students that too. I tell them all the time. Even though I'm teaching you to hold, I'm teaching you to pin the person down. In class, I don't want you to go all out with the person all the time. But remember, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, they're running up behind you out the dark. Hey, you do have that option. And that's okay. I just don't want you going there all the time. Graduation and continuation of force. So, but that doesn't mean I think that the other ways are bad. They're not. Think of it like writing, and you writing to a particular audience. I think the general choice audience is military. And if I'm training troops, if I'm training troops, they're going to learn to go for the vital points. I don't even think I would teach troops Kyusho for real, except for the high yield points. I'm not going to teach a troop to necessarily do an arm bar. I'm going to teach them to do an arm break. Because they're in a war zone. They're not keepers of the peace. If you're a keeper of the peace, like you're a police officer or you're a civilian and you're strictly supposed to be self-defense, that's different. But general choice art was for military. And it's a very, 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 very good art. Look at some of the demos that people do. Man, it's awesome. So, it's just a different audience. That's all. That's all. Doesn't mean I think it's bad. And just like, I'm just going to talk about my two main styles. It's like judo. Arm bar is the same thing as an arm break. I disagree that arm bar is the same thing as an arm break because they're two different words and they have two different results. If I'm doing an arm bar, I'm not necessarily trying to break your arm. I'm trying to hurt you so that you stop. If I set out to break, if I'm trying to break your arm, there is no time for tap out. If I'm doing an arm break, you're not going to tap out because I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go. There's no time for tap out. I guess so with semantics. Yes, but think about the result. It's about the intent. Same move, different intent. And sometimes same move with different intent breathes a whole new style. Because I can punch you, or I can take my fist and I can push you, or I can take my fist and I can take these knuckles and I can rub up here to get your head to go backwards. It's just like the difference between Kyusho Jitsu and Denmak. When I went to my first George Doman seminar, and he talked about Kyusho Jitsu and he talked about Denmak, he said, I'm teaching you the Denmak, but I'm taking the kill portion out of it. So if you remove the kill portion, then it's not Denmak, it is Kyusho Jitsu. I said I was only going to talk about my two main styles, but now I'm talking about Kyusho. Because to me now, it's all the same anyway. It's just art. So, but the main topic of this is the racist martial arts. If I'm going to be a racist martial artist, then I would have to be of the opinion that you have to be in my race in order to be able to pass on what I've learned. And that's ridiculous. That makes no sense. That's racist. I do not believe that. This is my yoga cane. I don't know why I'm picking this up. I guess because I'm still sore from that accident. I am not going to take that stance. I'm not going to teach anybody to take that stance. And anybody who's training with someone who thinks that You cannot ever be a master of Japanese martial arts unless you're Japanese, or you always have to have a Japanese person floating over you, or you cannot be a master of Chinese martial arts unless you're Chinese, because you always got to have a Chinese person floating over you. You cannot be a master of Western boxing then unless you're white. Think about that. You can never be a master of Western boxing unless there's a white coach somewhere. Floyd Mayweather family, anyone? The Mayweather family? What are they, 3 generations deep in boxing? So I think we've put that myth to rest. Yes, I know boxing is combat sport, but it can still be a martial art too. You see my point? So the only people who are ever in life going to be able to master Marma Arti are people from India. Right? The only people who are ever going to be able to master shackled hands are Africans. Not even African Americans. Africans. Right? Are the only people who are able to use a sword European? No, they have swords from various countries. They have swords from various continents. There's swords all over the place. Practically every culture has invented some type of knife. So the only people who are ever going to have mastery of the Filipino knife and stick arts are people who are Filipino, right? Right? That's the racist way of thinking. So, and I'm going to close after I say this. The only reason why people are letting that fly is because they're racist themselves. If you're training with somebody who has that mindset, it's because you're racist too. That means deep down inside, you don't think you're ever going to be good enough. Yes. Someone said that the racist martial artist in question just wants power. Yes. He just wants the power to flow from him. He just wants the power to flow from him so bad that he's willing to fight people over it who have not challenged him. And now let me say this, and then I'll really close. Now he has said that, he implied that one of the people he was challenging would be a wimp if they didn't fight him. He said, oh, well, if you try to go the humble route, then then why are you teaching people to fight in the first place? That violates the tenets of the martial arts. We're not supposed to be going around challenging people just for the heck of it, or thinking that people are weak because they won't accept our challenges. Look, man, if you want to fight people these days and make a lot of money doing it, get in the ring. Get in the ring. This whole, I'll fight you if no cameras around. You don't see me doing that. I don't want to do that. I could get sued. Plus, it's ridiculous. What does it prove? What does it prove? Nothing. It just proves that that one person was better than fighting that other person at that time. If you're going to take that kind of risk, why don't you get into a professional setting where you can both at least get paid, or get on the amateur circuits and at least one or both of you could win some medals? Why don't you do that? It'd be a good advertisement for your school. If you want to issue a challenge, be cheesy like in the Karate Kid movie. There's a tournament coming up. I see you at the tournament. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Someone just said he is so against MMA fighting competitions, but yet he wants to have unsanctioned brawls with people because they're not of his race. What sense does that make? Do you know what sanctioned fights do? Sanctioned fights actually prevent people from dying. Because in order to get approved for a sanctioned fight that's legal within your state, you have to go to a doctor. And a doctor will be able to detect health problems that aren't showing up. There are many health problems that don't have symptoms, but they're there. Like one of my problems. It literally has no symptoms. You literally cannot find it. And The doctor doesn't even believe I found it. But I came to him first. I found it through meditation. And to get this, when I was meditating, I didn't know what was wrong. I just knew something was wrong. I saw this energy thing come up. He knows he will lose, and that's why people totally discredit him and his style. No, I don't think he knows he'll lose. I think he believes he'd win. Otherwise, he wouldn't challenge. Most people don't challenge people that they can't beat. So, I was in meditation. I saw the spiritual feedback. I knew if I actually had paid more attention when people try to tell me about meditation, I would know exactly what this is. But I know that something's wrong. And I knew how to fix it. But I also knew that, yes. Someone just said he means fighting in MMA, not fighting that particular practitioner. Yeah. He probably would lose. Heck, if I fought MMA, I might lose because according to my cousin, who's actually a professional, my cousin-in-law, who's actually a professional MMA fighter, he said everybody loses their first match. And I saw him fight. He's a beast. But he said everybody loses their first match. He said he lost his first match. I was like, you lost your first match? Yes, I lost my first match. He said pretty much everybody loses their first match. It's not uncommon for you to lose your first MMA match. But don't let that stop you. You probably lose because you're frozen and you're nervous and stuff like that. And guess it's brand new. Or you could get in there with somebody you shouldn't be fighting. So, I lost my first judo tournament. I lost my first judo match. I got thrown. And I won my first taekwondo match, but I lost my second one because I lost my temper. Mathematically impossible to win them all. Yes, it is. That's what someone else just said. So anyway, like I said, I found the health problem in meditation. And meditation told me how to fix it, but it would have taken, I believe, and I'm totally unqualified on this, so this is my best guess. My guess at the time was it would have taken 2 or 3 hours a day of chi building to repair it over the course of a year. That's what I was hearing in my spirit. But I said, you know what? There's this wonderful thing called Western medicine where they could to lose the first match. Yes, people do lose their first match a lot of times. For everybody, it's not, well, of course, it's mathematically impossible for everybody to lose their first match, but most people do. So I said, let's just go to a doctor, someone who's paid and knows and went to school, and they can tell me if I'm actually being delusional or not. If I'm just imagining things in fairy tale meditation land. And I wasn't imagining things in fairy tale meditation land. But the doctor saved my life. But it was something that has no symptoms. And he told me if I fought MMA, the thing he described that would happen to me if I fought MMA, not so much now. Now he just thinks because I'm doing okay, he thinks, dude, you're too old to be doing this. Don't fight MMA. It's stupid and you're going to piss off your wife. And I know your wife, she's a nice lady. Don't do that. It's barbaric. You don't need it anyway. You've got enough going for you. And he's right. He's right. I'm too old to be fighting MMA. But what he said would happen to me, him and the specialist, the primary, secondary, and his primary and the specialist doctor, what they said would happen is exactly what happened to Data 5000 when he fought Kimbo Slice. That's why that fight scared me personally. Because Kimbo Slice died after the fight. Data 5000 went to the hospital with the same thing that would happen to me if I was dumb enough to get in the ring. And in particular, he said that this doesn't mean if it's a real fight that you couldn't survive that. He said it is specifically because of all of the heat in those particular conditions that will cause too quick of a dehydration for your body to deal with. And he said you only should do it if you have specialist doctors who know to look for you and can tell if things are getting ready to go bad. So, anyway, I'm going to close. I've been saying this. I'm going to close. It's a racist martial artist who thinks that only people in his race can teach his style. And if you train with someone and you think that race is the primary indicator of mastery in a martial art, then you're racist. Then you must be racist in other areas too. Well, let me tell you something to break your racism. If we ever playing basketball, don't pick me. Don't pick me. I don't live up to the stereotype. I don't care how tall I am. Trust me. Don't pick me for your basketball team. Don't. Because that's not a stereotype that I uphold. It is not on purpose. I tried. I suck at basketball. Well, I'm average at basketball. But by black guy standards, I suck at basketball. Basketball is my brother's thing. He should have went pro. He's that good. I still can't beat my brother at basketball. He's in his 50s. I'm in my 40s. He hasn't played in years. I guarantee you if you gave us the ball, he'd still destroy me. I can't beat my brother at basketball. He's that good. He should have went pro. Hey, we can't be good at everything. That's just life. I'm not mad about it. I just say, hey, people got their things. I got my things. You don't see me trying to fix a car. You don't see me trying to perform surgery. I stay in my lane. And one of my lanes happens to be the martial arts. So thank you for watching me drone on this long. Like, comment, and subscribe. And don't listen to racist martial artists. Stop listening to racist martial artists. Race has nothing to do with it. You know what? You want to know why the reason is? If people in Asia are better at the martial arts than people at other places, it's because they devote more time to it. And if it comes from there, they've had more time to study the field. It is all about time invested. It is not about genetics. It is about an investment of time. And it doesn't mean that other martial arts don't spring up in other places like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They learn from a Japanese guy. They put their own spin on it. They have their own style. Now it's Brazilian. So only a Brazilian person is going to ever master Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I can go on and on, but I won't. But seriously, thank you for your time, and take care of yourselves. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Stay away from racist martial artists. Peace!